Hello, welcome to Connections, a podcast series that offers bits of information and inspiration about education and recreation. I am your host, Dr. Jenny Stepanek, and tonight we have a very special guest, Esther Owusu, who's going to be sharing information and inspiration about her family journey. Esther is an amazing mom and an incredible advocate, helping other families who are dealing with disabilities and charge syndrome. So welcome, Esther. Thank you for being here and for sharing your story. Let's get started with you just telling us a little bit about you. Who is Esther?
All right. Esther is a married woman with 4 children. And I have 3 boys and 1 girl. So with my 4 children, Aaron being the oldest, have charge syndrome. So my husband's name is Eric Owusu, and he has been very supportive since we married. And even till now, he is still being supportive. And I thank him for everything he has been doing for me, Aaron, and the rest of the family. I work as a student assistant in one of the public school systems, and I work with kids with autism because Aaron is my inspiration to help other children to also become like Aaron, to help them to be more independent. Yes.
So before you had a family, um, what what were you interested in? What were your dreams?
Oh, I wanted to be a nurse. That was my biggest dream. But when I gave birth to Aaron, everything just I won't say that I don't still want to do it, but maybe in the late future I will try and do that. Yes.
Okay. So you got married and you started a family. We have a picture of your family here. I'm going to share my screen. Um,
Okay.
so tell us about your lovely family here.
All right. So this picture is about my 3 boys and then my daughter. We went to church, and after church we had to take this picture. So you can see me right sitting in between the 2 boys up there. That is Aaron in the glasses. And then Eric, he is after Aaron. And then Alexander right down there, and Lois, that's my daughter. Yeah, this picture was taken after church.
And is Aaron your oldest?
Yes, Aaron is my oldest child who have charge syndrome.
Okay, so we have a picture of baby Aaron here.
Mhm.
See if we can get that to come up. There's baby Aaron.
Yes.
When was Aaron born?
Aaron was born January 16, 2010.
Okay, 2010. So he's going to be 14 very
Yes,
soon.
he's 14 years old.
14 years old now.
Yes.
Um, and when you were expecting him, did
Mhm.
you have any idea that there were going to be challenges, or had you heard the word charge syndrome prior to that?
No, I didn't know anything about Child syndrome. And even prior to him being born, I didn't have no complications. So he's a full-time baby.
Okay. Here's another picture of him. He's an adorable
Mhm.
little guy.
Yeah.
When did you find out, and how did you find out about his condition?
Yeah. So when Aaron was born on the third day, the nurses came to me in my room and told me that he has not been eating as much as he's supposed to eat as a baby. So they are going to put him in the NICU. So they took Aaron to the NICU, and over there they started checking on him why he is not eating. So they did a testing. They called the genetic doctor to come in, and also they did a lot of testing. And then after the genetic testing, they told me that Aaron have Child syndrome. Then
Uh,
we can see from his eyes, yeah, the left eye is very small. The left eye is very small, and he is blind in that left eye. And then the right eye have colobomas, so it's not all that good, but luckily for us, he's able to see. from it. That's the only one eye that is able to see.
So for somebody that might be tuning in that's not familiar with charge syndrome, um, how would you describe charge?
Okay, so Child syndrome is a pattern of birth defects with a range of medical conditions that can differ from child to child. And then when I relate it to Aaron, he himself, he had the coloboma in his right eye. When you give birth to a child with a child syndrome, they differ. It differs from child to child, as I said earlier on. So with my son Aaron, his was his eye. It affected the eye, the ears, and also it's like the part of his left side was all deformed. So his hip was dislocated right after birth. So when he was a baby and he was in the NICU, my husband detected that one leg is shorter than the other. So that was the left leg. And so that one they had to do a surgery to repair it. And also his heart, he have a hole in the heart. So they had to repair that also when he was young because they said that it can cause breathing problems and other things. Yes, and he's also deaf in the ears. So he uses hearing aids. So those are some of the things that when you have child syndrome, those similarities you can find in most of the children. Yes. And they are underdeveloped. Yes. So the things that the typical children will have, they don't have that. They don't grow like that. Yeah.
So charge is a very complex syndrome
Yes.
that affects many body systems and it's different across every child.
Mhm.
What are some of the challenges? Well, actually, before we talk about the challenges, how when you started learning this, when you and your husband told your baby has charge syndrome,
Mhm.
which you've never heard of before,
Yeah.
um, and you're expecting this healthy child, what kind of feelings did you go through? How did you process that?
Yeah. So at that moment, our it was everyone was going to be the light for the family. And then right down there, our dreams got crushed. Like we were so sad because we didn't know anything about that. And he was our first child. So we dreamt of having higher expectations. But when we gave birth to him and he had all these things going on with him, we really felt so sad. And we thought we were the ones that have created such a problem. But the doctors told us that it was not our fault. So they are going to be with us and teach us through. So the most luckiest thing that the doctors did for me was just to talk to me. And I was always connected to them. And I asked them a lot of questions. And they also gave me a lot of answers that made me settle. And they also gave me like a CD that I can watch about the child syndrome. So I will get to know more. And I Googled it also to know more. But most of the time, the more I Googled, the more I started crying because it was very complex. A lot of things, yes. So with prayer and also with our faith, we were able to stand strong and firm.
And how did you, it sounds like you did some coping by gathering information, which
Yes.
I can relate to that. Like,
Mhm.
information
Mhm.
is knowledge and knowledge is power.
Yeah.
So that's always helpful.
Mhm.
Um, what were some other coping strategies that you and your husband used to deal with those early days and weeks? Because there were a lot of medical challenges,
Yes.
a hole in
Yes.
the heart and the hip.
Mhm.
How
Yeah.
did you deal with that?
Yeah, so because that moment when we gave birth to Aaron, we were new in the USA. So we didn't have any family members here. But our church members were our family. They supported us through. Our pastor will come around all the time to the NICU to pray for Aaron and to also pray with us. And he also made sure that we are okay. So most of the church members came into the house to help us and support us with any need that we needed. And I always shared my story with people so that I can get answers. I never kept it to myself. I called back home to my mom, although she doesn't know anything about it, but the advice that they gave me secured me to have that faith to stay for Aaron. Yes, it's strong for him.
How old was he when he had the heart surgery?
He was like 3 months. Yeah, he was very young when they repaired the PDA. Yeah.
That must have been very, very scary for you.
Yes, it was very scary for us. Both of us, we cried throughout because it was a long surgery. Yes. But luckily for us, when he came out, it didn't take too much time, and he opened that one eye, and then we were so blessed and happy to see him alive.
Very, very nice. How old was he when you took him home?
6 months.
6 months.
Mhm.
What was that like bringing your baby home?
It was very tough and difficult for me and my husband. My husband really stressed a lot, but with me, I knew that there was hope. Most of the time when I go, I would just look at the eyes and he would just open that eye to look at my face, and I saw that there is hope. So really took a toll on us, but we never made that defeat us because we knew that he was going to live. Yes.
Do you feel that you were well prepared for him coming home? Or once he came home, did you say, I wish I'd have known this, I wish I'd have known that? What were some of the things you went through in that transition?
Okay, so I would tell myself that I was very prepared because of the connection that I had with the doctors. They really taught me a lot. So when he came home, I had one of my family relatives. It's not too close relative, but she came in, and then she was the one helping me through most of the things. And after that, the infants and toddlers also came in. So when they came in, they started teaching me most of the things that I have to know to also help him to grow. So I was prepared. Yes, I knew everything that was coming with the YouTube and everything. Yeah, I learned everything.
So he's now 14, gonna
Mhm.
15 soon.
Yes.
Um, what was it like during his preschool years, when you're moving from a baby that you're learning about this charge syndrome? Then you bring him home and you're dealing with medical, and now we're going to have education introduced. What was that like?
Yeah, I was thinking about it because I never know how that time when he was 2, he was still not walking. And the infant and toddlers were still coming to the house to train him and help him, support him with how he can walk. And he was still having the DTU. So I was thinking about how he's going to carry the whole machine in the backpack to go to school and come home, and how is he going to even talk to the teachers? Because he was verbal, but not all that verbal. He was not saying using much words. So I was thinking about all those things. How I didn't know about the bus systems and everything, so I thought I was going to be driving him back and forth. But luckily for me, the infant and toddlers, because he was in the program, they did everything, and then they gave me um any answer to my question. And so they brought in the car the first day that he have to start. That time, around 3 years, he started school at 3. So he was able to walk by then. So I will hold him to the bus. And luckily for me, the G tube was also taken out because he was able to eat by mouth. So he was okay. So he will go to school. The favorite food he used to eat was yogurt because he was not able to eat heavy food. So I gave him all the light food that he has to take to school. But he did very well. The teacher that he had in school was very good in the preschool. He became a family to us. She most of the time come to the house to visit him, and he was doing very well in that school. Yeah, in Villa Cresta. Yeah.
As he grew older,
Mm.
into preschool years and then elementary school, um, did his medical challenges sort of level out, or did you have more and more challenges medically?
Okay, with the medical issues, it was wearing off because he had all his surgeries in the early years. Most of his surgeries were done in the early years, so he didn't have like most challenging times when he was attending school. Even though he one of the challenge surgery that he had was um I forgot. He had like the cataract before the cataract came in. I've forgotten the name a little bit, but one day he came from school and he was not able to see the food that he was eating. His whole face was inside the bowl. So I thought he was getting blind. So I was so scared. I called the doctor and then the eye doctor, and we went in and he said he was having I've forgotten it. Just keep me, but when I remember, I will let you know. Yes. So they have to have an emergency surgery. And after that surgery, he stayed home for um 3 months. Yes. When he stayed home for 3 months, that was the challenge surgery that he had. But apart from that, everything was fine. Yes. Everything.
That's a lot of stuff to be dealing
Mhm.
with.
Yeah,
Uh,
so he was having, sorry for that, he was having a retinal detachment.
wow.
Yes.
And then you start having other children
Mhm.
and families growing. Um, let's talk about some of Aaron's developmental challenges and
Mhm.
education challenges. What was that like for you?
Mhm. It was very difficult because I didn't, with me specifically, I didn't know much. I had Aaron as a son, knowing the things that I was teaching him, but I didn't know most of the things about child syndrome. And so when he was growing, it was very challenging in the case that some of the things that he would do in the house, I would not understand him. And sometimes I would be yelling and doing the things that I'm not supposed to do. And then all of a sudden he would start crying until I started talking to Miss Dana, and then in the Deafblind project, the director of the Deafblind project, and she started advising me, and she told me that Esther, you need to learn. So I just agreed with her that I need help to help my son. So they helped me enroll me into the intervener program to learn more about child syndrome. Yes. And I
So
was able to support Aaron
very
and
good.
advocate for him.
Gathering information when he's
Mhm,
little, gathering more information,
mhm.
growing. What I know is interesting. I've been to a lot of charge syndrome webinars and conferences and
Yes.
events and workshops, and it seems like there's constantly new information
Mhm.
that the professionals are still learning more
Yes.
and more about this condition
Mhm.
and the impact on children who are growing up with this.
Yes.
What were some of the specific education challenges that Aaron faced because of charge?
Yeah. So I learned that his concept development is very low. So when he go to school and they are teaching something, it's very difficult for him to just equip it and use it. So um, with the concept development, apart from that, because of his vision, he's he's not able to most of the time get more access to whatever that is being taught. So and also his hearing, because both vision and hearing is what we use to get information, get access to information. But he is lacking most of his um, educational information due to his vision and hearing problems, and also his concept development is also very low. And I'm trying to, especially in his IEP, trying to make sure that they know him very well and know how to give him the access to education. Yes.
What kind of adaptive equipment is helpful for him?
Yes. So in his school right now, he's using, he said they have something called the Jupiter that he's using to help him to access. And he's also using like board prints. He was using learning Braille, but I realized that it was very challenging for him And so it was making him draw back. The more he has to go to school, he didn't want to go because the braille was too difficult for him. So I told him to just drop it for now. And now he's very good with a good large print. Yes. So that's what he's using now.
When did you get involved with Connections Beyond Sight and Sound?
Yeah, it was when Aaron was in fifth grade. But by then I was talking to them, but the more during at fifth grade, then I got connected very well to get more information from them, and they really supported me. Yes, really supported me. Miss Sherry is on there. I really thank her. She's a great advocate. She helped me through my journey with Aaron.
What kind of support has Connections been able to help your family with?
Yes. So first, I said that they enrolled me in the intervenor program to learn more about child syndrome. Yes. And also, when my son um, was to be taken to the Maryland School for the Blind, they really advocated for me, student to advocate, so that everyone will get the appropriate education that he needs. So those are the main things, and they always cancel me. Miss Donna, sometimes I don't make her sleep. I keep sending her emails to let her know where I am in life. And she always advises me that, Esther, you cannot carry all these things in one day. You need to take one day at a time. That particular word that came from her always helped me because I was taking everything in, and then I will not be able to. It's like she told me, you cannot do everything. Just take one thing at a time, because the more you take one thing at a time, you are able to solve it than to put the whole stress on you and then you can't. Yes.
No, that's
So they have been there for me.
very important
Mhm.
advice. Um, so let's talk a little bit. We've talked about the challenges. There's clearly a lot of medical challenges,
Mhm.
a lot of developmental and education challenges,
Yes.
and Connections has supported you in connecting with
Mhm.
education, with programs, with resources.
Yes.
Um, let's talk about some of the amazing things about Erin. Um,
Yes.
I'm going to share my screen again here. So there's baby Erin,
Yeah.
and here is so
Yeah.
you sent this to me, and you said Erin likes going to the dentist. He
Yes.
is one of the few people in the world, because it's the number one fear globally is visits to the dentist. So tell me about Erin as a person.
Yes. So Aaron he is very jovial. He smiles all the time. Sometimes he will say something once and it will just how amazing, he will just brighten your day. Yes. So he in this picture, he's at the dentist and he always like to go to the dentist. Sometimes when we go and I schedule appointment, I even forget, but he's very good keeping time and date. So whenever it's time, he will tell me, Mommy, do you know tomorrow is my time to go to the doctor's office or to go to the dentist? And then I take him. So he is very fun to be. He's always smiling. He is sometimes he like to walk. He like to walk with me. This one is around our neighborhood. I was taking him for a walk. He like going outside to see. And sometimes he will hear the noise of the the bird chirping, and he would just tend to look at where the sound is coming from. He loves nature. And then he also likes to sing, clap his hands, and play instruments.
So that I think a lot of people would find fascinating, because
Mhm.
this young man has dual sensory impairment.
Mhm.
He has challenges with hearing
Yes.
and with vision. Um, and here he is with a guitar. How
Mhm.
did he, how did you first see this interest in music, and what kinds of music does he enjoy? What instruments does he enjoy?
Okay, so the first time of him liking like the instruments and other like the songs. When he was in the preschool, the teacher noticed that anytime they start to play a song, he is into it. He will sit there and listen to every word in that song, and then he will just make that sound of that music. So the teacher bought a small piano for him. And so he was bringing it to the house all the time, and he's still with me here. So when he was in third grade, he told me he wanted to play violin in the school. So I enrolled him in the band. So he was very good playing piano all the time until he left that school, and the dad bought piano for him in the house. So although he's not all that perfect, but he likes to press on the keys to make sound, and then he would just start laughing and smiling to the tune.
And here he is with guitars. He learned
Mhm.
the guitar?
So that guitar, this is a picture from the school that he went to the music class, and they were having that music. So he just got the guitar and he started pressing on it.
Wonderful. That's a
Mhm.
great way to celebrate
Yes.
life. Um, so what would you, one of the things that you've done is you've moved from being a parent
Mhm.
who is overwhelmed. Um, your child's born with something you've never heard of,
Mhm.
and it's not just a disability. There are some really scary medical
Yes.
aspects of this condition, and you learn to deal with that. And you learn the school system as well. You get connected with connections,
Mhm.
and then you went the next step. You have become an advocate to help other families.
Yeah.
How did that begin?
Yeah, so with Miss Donna, I always want to mention her name. She called me one day and said, Esther, the way you've been advocating for your son, I want you to also stand in for other families and connect them so that they will be able to just become advocates just like you. So I want you to join the Child Syndrome Foundation. And so I just read more about it. And then they told me to be the Maryland DC liaison for the Child Syndrome Foundation. So I just agreed to it. I signed up for it. I talked to um, the leaders in the group. And now any parent who is ready to talk about anything about child, although I'm not an expert though, but I'm always, sometimes it's always best to talk to parents who have children that have child syndrome or children that are having the same need so that you get the understanding of whatever you need to help and advocate for your child.
Yes, and I've been in some of your sessions before
Yes.
where you've been coaching, mentoring, talking with
Yes.
other family members, and you do an amazing job. Um,
Okay.
for this podcast, what are a few tips or tools? What are a few bits of advice you would offer to other families who have children with Charge syndrome?
Yes. So the first thing that I would say is never lose hope, because if I had lost hope for Aaron, Aaron would need to be here. I kept fighting for Aaron. I kept making my story head. When things happen like this, it's not anybody's fault. It just come in. But when they come in as parents, we have to embrace it, take our time, and to learn more about whatever is happening, to know your child more. Because the more you know your child, the more you are able to help and support your child in any situation that your child will be in. Medically, you have to listen more and know what the doctors are doing. Because most of the time, the doctors will say it, but it's your choice, it's your voice to also tell the doctors that I know my child, let's do it this way, let's go this way. So I will say again that never lose hope, because these kids, they are our hope. The more through everything, any obstacle. They are very strong. They are very strong children. And the more you put in more um more energy to help them, they are also going to grow and become the children that you want them to be. Yes. Thank
If
you.
a family wanted to know where are some good resources, either online or in the community, what are a few resources that you would highly recommend?
Okay. I will highly recommend the Maryland Deafblind Project. They are there to support you in any way you connect. You can also connect with me, and then I will connect you to the right resources also. And also the school, if your child is in school, the school is also the greatest resource place that you can talk to them during IEPs so that they can also share those resources also with you. And also the Parent Place of Maryland, they are also there to help. So please, you can Google it and then you will get to know more about that. And so Child Syndrome Foundation is also there. It's everything I'm talking about is online. You can Google, know more about it, and then you can move from there. Because if you don't have the information, it's very difficult to get understanding of whatever is happening to you and your child. And also, lastly, you can talk to other families that are in this that are having children with Child syndrome or any other thing, any other disorder, so that they can help you. Because we parents, we know best, we know more. So the more you talk to them, they can connect you to doctors or whatever providers that maybe you might not know. Yes.
Thank you for all of that. And you're absolutely right. Doctors, teachers, trained professionals
Yes.
know their trained profession,
Yes.
but parents know their children.
Mhm.
So that's a very powerful message. I want to thank you for sharing all of this. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Oh, I would like to thank you very much for hosting this program and making me to share my story. Thank you very much because information is is the way to get more knowledge, and knowledge is power. So as I always say, when you have the knowledge, that is the knowledge that is going to lead you to get the power to advocate for your child. So please always make your voice heard. Don't be underestimated, and don't think that your child cannot make it. Your child can make it. The more you advocate, the more you will get the right things for your child. Thank you so much to Maryland Deaf Project. I send my greetings to Miss Donna, and also Miss Sherry is here. I will use this platform to thank all staff for question beyond sight and sound. You have been such a great supportive to me and my family, and I would like to say thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you. You know, every person has a story and every family has a story. And I want to thank you for sharing yours with us. I hope the people that view this podcast have leave with a little bit of information, a whole lot of inspiration.
Mm.
And I want to thank you for taking the time to share. I also want to thank our ASL interpreter for the time this evening. And as you said, Sherry, for being the behind the scenes host.
Mm.
So thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll make sure that contact information is posted somehow with this so that people can learn more if they want to. So thank you everybody for the time, and that wraps up another Connections podcast episode. So thank you.
Yeah.